Beneath the endless waves, there lies a world untouched by mortal hands, timeless and vast. The ocean whispers secrets older than mountains, carried in the current and echoed in the tides. Tonight, we journey into those depths, where gods walk and legends breathe in silence. This is not the tale of storms or battles, but of music, mystery, and a voice that changed the sea. Poseidon, lord of the oceans, ruled with power unmatched, his trident shaping waters and waves. Yet even he, in his majesty, felt the stir of something beyond control, a song soft but unyielding. It drifted on the surface, brushed the hulls of ships, and found its way into the hearts of sailors. Some called it a warning, others a blessing, and many feared it, for it spoke to the soul itself. The source was hidden, veiled in twilight waters, where no mortal dared to venture for long. There, beneath coral towers and shadows, dwelled the Siren Queen, keeper of the ocean's melody. Her song was not of destruction, but of truth, weaving beauty with sorrow, strength with longing. And so begins our story, where the god of seas and the queen of voices crossed paths forever. The sea stretched endless, vast, and alive, its voice murmuring through waves and hidden currents. Poseidon, lord of this realm, stood tall with trident in hand, his eyes fixed upon the horizon. The world above was restless, yet beneath the waters he found both majesty and silence. But even a god, master of storms, cannot command the hidden pulse of the ocean's heart. One evening, as dusk fell upon the world, Poseidon felt a tremor unlike any storm or quake. It was not thunder, nor the cry of whales, but something softer, more elusive, like a whisper. The sound grew, faint yet steady, carried by tides, weaving between reefs and rocks with ease. Poseidon turned his gaze to the deep, seeking the source of this strange and tender call. He had heard countless hymns sung by mortals, prayers tossed into the sea with desperate hope. But this sound was no mortal hymn, no plea or sacrifice. It was pure, melodic, and unclaimed. It seemed older than temples, yet fresher than dawn, moving through the water like breath. Poseidon closed his eyes, listening, letting the rhythm brush against the edges of his power. The song curved and fell, like silver light on waves, rising and sinking in perfect harmony. It was not meant to lure nor to frighten, but to speak of the sea itself, timeless and true. The god of oceans, ruler of storms, found himself pausing, caught not by force but by wonder. Could there exist a voice in his domain that even he did not know nor summon? The question stirred him, unsettled and intrigued, for gods are not used to surprise. He followed the current, letting the melody lead, each note drawing him deeper into mystery. Around him, the waters grew calm, as if listening too, swaying gently with the unseen song. Creatures of the sea drifted near, dolphins and fish, carried by curiosity rather than fear. Poseidon's heart, strong as the tide, beat with a rhythm that matched the hidden voice. It was as though the ocean itself spoke, not through storm or silence, but through music. And so he traveled, from coast to abyss, searching for the place where sound became soul. The further he went, the stronger it grew, threading through coral paths and shadowed caves. It was as if the sea held its breath, guarding a secret it had long kept from its master. Poseidon felt neither threatened nor deceived, but compelled, drawn to the unknown with awe. For a god who held dominion, the humbling power of beauty was rare and unexpected. This was not a force to conquer, nor a rival to destroy, but a mystery to behold. As the last light of the sun faded, the voice shimmered through darkness, clear and whole. It was then Poseidon understood. The sea he ruled was not silent, but endlessly alive. Somewhere ahead, beyond reach yet close, waited the source of the song, eternal and free. And so began his journey, not of conquest, but of discovery, guided by the call of the sea. The song drifted with the current, weaving through the deep as if it carried its own secret tide. Poseidon followed, silent, his trident glowing faintly, casting light upon corals and hidden caves. The melody lingered between shadows, sometimes close, sometimes distant, like a breath of memory. It rose and fell with the waves, not harsh, not pleading, but patient, steady and full of wonder. The god of the seas listened with intent, each note echoing in chambers of water and stone. It was unlike any hymn of mortals, unchained from fear, untouched by devotion or demand. This was a voice born of the ocean itself, older than prayers, untouched by temple walls. The sound clung to Poseidon's mind, drawing forth feelings he rarely allowed to rise. Memories of silence before storms, of still mornings upon the water, of the sea's first breath. He thought of sailors whispering tales of voices that guided them when stars disappeared. They called them sirens, mysterious beings who sang truths hidden from mortal sight. Some said their voices led to ruin. Others swore they revealed safe harbors in the dark. Poseidon now wondered if both were true, if the song revealed not doom, but destiny. He drifted deeper, through gardens of kelp swaying as though moved by the music itself. Fish glimmered like sparks of silver, circling in harmony with the unseen rhythm. The melody shifted then, no longer distant but bright, a shimmering thread in the water. It bent around him, weaving circles of sound, as if testing the strength of his heart. Poseidon closed his eyes again, letting the notes carry him further into their secret. The song spoke not in words, but in feeling, a language older than speech or thought. It told of longing, of vast waters yearning to be heard beyond waves and storms. It told of joy hidden in the simplest ripple, and sorrow cradled in the ocean's depth. The god felt the weight of it, the immensity of the sea he ruled, but did not fully know. For though he shaped the tides, he could not command the truth within the music. The song was alive, free, untamed, belonging not to god nor mortal, but to the sea itself. Poseidon felt humbled, a rare moment for one who bent oceans to his command. He thought of mortals who heard only fragments and could not bear the fullness of it. No wonder they feared, no wonder they dreamt, for even a god stood in awe. The sound grew warmer, closer, like a hand extended from the dark toward his soul. He sensed now a presence behind the melody, not just a song, but a singer unseen. The queen of sirens, whispered of in tales, hidden where sunlight never reached. Her voice moved the sea as his trident did, shaping without breaking, guiding without chains. And for the first time, Poseidon longed not to rule, but to listen and to learn. The melody faded slightly, as though daring him to follow deeper, beyond mortal paths. He tightened his grip on the trident, not in defiance, but in reverence for what lay ahead. And with the last echo of that verse, Poseidon knew his journey had only just begun. The ocean floor stretched wide before him, filled with shadows and glimmers of hidden life unseen by mortals. Poseidon moved slowly, guided not by force, but by the song that called with patience and calm grace. The waters deepened into silence, broken only by the gentle rhythm of that unyielding melody. Ahead, a vast ridge of coral rose like towers, shimmering with colors even the sun had never touched. The song lingered there, wrapped around the coral spires, as if woven into the stones themselves. Poseidon paused, sensing that this was no mere dwelling, but a sanctuary of the sea's secrets. Creatures large and small drifted in harmony, their movements soft, as though the music guided them. It was a kingdom without walls, held together not by power, but by the bond of song and trust. The deeper he looked, the more he saw. Arches of pearl, gardens of kelp, streams of glowing light. It was as if the ocean had built a cathedral, not of marble, but of water, shadow, and voice. The melody grew richer, echoing through caverns, carried by currents to every hidden corner. Poseidon felt humbled again, reminded that even he had not shaped all wonders of the sea. Here was a place untouched by his storms, beyond his command, yet thriving within his domain. The song curved upward, drawing him toward a clearing where light shimmered in pale blue haze. There he saw figures moving, graceful forms with voices that blended like waves on a shore. The sirens appeared, not as terror, but as guardians, their presence calm, their eyes watchful. Their beauty was not in form alone, but in the harmony of movement, song, and sea itself. They did not flee nor bow, but sang as though he had always been meant to hear them. The melody shifted again, stronger now, layered with voices that carried both strength and peace. Poseidon's heart quickened, for within that harmony was one voice brighter, fuller than the rest. It was the Queen's, unmistakable, rising above yet woven within, steady and commanding. Her song was the tide's pulse, the ocean's breath, a rhythm older than even the gods remembered. As he stepped closer, the waters around him glowed faintly, as though alive with her power. The sirens parted, their voices blending in support, their eyes filled with quiet reverence. At the center stood the Queen, radiant, her gaze calm but unyielding, her voice never faltering. Her presence was not meant to ensnare, but to reveal, as if she sang the truth of the sea itself. Poseidon felt the weight of her song upon him, not heavy, but deep, urging him to listen fully. The Queen did not look away, nor did she break the flow of her music, for it was who she was. The waters seemed to still around them, awaiting the moment when silence would give way to words. Poseidon lowered his trident, not in surrender, but in respect, acknowledging her domain of sound. The Queen's song faded slowly, like twilight slipping into night, leaving the ocean hushed. And in that quiet, Poseidon understood that this was the heart of the mystery he had sought. The Siren Queen had revealed herself, not as rival nor foe, but as the voice of the deep. And so began the meeting of sea and song, god and queen, in the hidden domain of the sirens. Poseidon stood within the clearing, the sea holding its breath as silence followed the fading song. The Siren Queen regarded him with calm strength, her presence neither hostile nor yielding. Her eyes were like the depths themselves, endless, shifting, filled with stories no mortal could bear. She did not speak first, for her silence carried more weight than words, and Poseidon waited. At last, her voice broke the stillness, not in song but in speech, soft yet commanding. "You walk in a realm that is not yours," she said, her tone steady as the tide. Poseidon's hand tightened on his trident, though not in threat, only in acknowledgement of her truth. "I am Lord of the Seas," he replied, his voice echoing through the coral halls. The Queen tilted her head, her expression unshaken, her gaze sharp as moonlight on water. "The seas are vast," she answered, "yet not all currents bend to your trident, god of storms." Her words struck not as challenge, but as reminder, gentle yet firm as waves on stone. Poseidon felt no anger, only a stirring respect for the one who dared to speak thus. Her sirens gathered near, their voices hushed, their eyes watching the god with quiet wonder. The queen raised her hand, and the waters shimmered, carrying her voice deeper into the abyss. "You hear my song," she said. "But do you understand why it flows through the hearts of men?" Poseidon considered, his gaze fixed upon her, the weight of her question sinking within him. "I know it is no ordinary song," he answered, "but its purpose remains hidden from me." The queen's lips curved, not in scorn but in knowing, as though she had awaited such words. "My song is not for destruction," she said, her voice flowing like currents across reefs. "It is truth woven in sound, a mirror to those who listen, showing what they carry within." She moved with grace, her hair drifting like kelp, her eyes never leaving his. To the fearful, it brings dread, for it shows them their own weakness and despair. To the brave, it is a guide, carrying them toward the path their hearts already seek. To some, it is beauty, and to others, it is warning, for the sea reflects all souls. Poseidon felt the depth of her words, a wisdom that belonged not to mortals, but to eternity. He realized then why sailors spoke of sirens with both reverence and fear. Their voices did not command fate, but revealed it, shaping journeys by unveiling hidden truths. The god lowered his trident further, the light upon its prongs dimming like stars before dawn. "You rule not through force," Poseidon said, "but through the harmony of song and spirit." The queen inclined her head, her voice soft as currents brushing shells upon the sand. "And you, Poseidon, must see that even power bows before truth, for truth cannot be broken." Her sirens began to sing again, faintly, a chorus that framed her words like gentle waves. Poseidon stood silent, listening, realizing this meeting was not a test of strength, but of heart. In that stillness, he knew the sea held more than storms and silence. It held voices eternal. And in the queen's presence, Poseidon felt both humbled and renewed, as though he too was listening for the first time. Poseidon stood still, the weight of the queen's words echoing through the vast chamber of the sea. Her song lingered in the silence, not fading but resonating, like waves repeating against endless shores. He felt the depth of her meaning, yet questions stirred within him, like restless tides in a storm. "Why then?" he asked, his voice low but steady. "Do mortals speak of fear when they hear your call?" The queen regarded him, her gaze unbroken, her expression calm as though she had heard this before. "They fear themselves," she answered, her voice carrying through the water with gentle certainty. "The song reveals what lies within their souls, and many do not wish to face their truth." Her words were not an accusation, but a mirror, reflecting wisdom without judgment or pride. Poseidon's eyes narrowed slightly, considering, for he had seen mortals falter even under his storms. He had witnessed courage, but also weakness, and he now saw how her voice uncovered both. The queen continued, her tone flowing with patience, each word shaped like ripples on calm waters. "I do not lure them to their fate, god of seas. I only show them the paths they already walk. To one who holds anger, the song is sharp and heavy, pressing them toward despair and ruin. To one who carries hope, the song is light, guiding them to shores they never dreamed to find. And to the wise, it is balance, neither promise nor curse, but truth carried in sound." Poseidon listened intently, the firmness in her words striking deeper than the force of any tide. For the first time, he felt as though he was not master but student in the heart of his sea. He lowered his trident further, its glow dim now, as though in reverence for her wisdom. The sirens sang softly in the background, weaving harmonies that carried her words across the depths. Their voices blended with hers, strengthening the truth, a chorus that felt eternal and unbroken. Poseidon's heart stirred, not with pride, but with humility, a rare current within his mighty soul. He thought of his storms, his tempests, his endless waves that tested sailors and kings alike. Were they not too, in their own way, a reflection of mortal strength and weakness? Perhaps his storms and her songs were not rivals, but different faces of the same truth. The queen's eyes softened, as though she sensed his thoughts flowing like tides around him. "You rule the seas with power," she said, her voice a calm tide. "But power is not all. Without harmony, even the strongest current may break, scattering instead of guiding." Her words struck deep, echoing in him like thunder rolling across a vast horizon. Poseidon, god of seas, felt the rare weight of doubt, yet also the spark of understanding. He realized that her song was not a challenge to his rule, but a gift to the ocean itself. In her voice lay balance, in his storms lay strength, and together they shaped destiny. The queen's song rose again, brighter now, no longer a test, but an offering of trust. It wrapped around Poseidon like a tide, not binding, but reminding him of the sea's vastness. He closed his eyes, letting the music move through him, carrying both sorrow and light. And in that moment, Poseidon understood. The queen's truth was not meant to weaken, but to guide. Their powers were not enemies, but echoes of the same ocean, vast, eternal, and whole. Poseidon lingered in silence, the ocean's current swaying around him as though waiting for his reply. The queen's song had stirred something deep, a truth he had long overlooked in his reign of storms. For ages he had ruled with force, shaping tides and waves, but never pausing to listen to the sea. Now, in the queen's presence, he realized the sea spoke not only in thunder, but also in whispers. Her sirens circled at a distance, their soft voices weaving harmonies like threads of starlight in water. They did not sing for power, nor to ensnare, but to reflect the truth of the ocean's soul. Poseidon raised his gaze, his trident still lowered, his expression touched with rare humility. "Your song shows truths unseen," he said, his voice resonant. "But does it also bind the hearts of gods?" The queen regarded him, her eyes calm, her presence strong, as if carrying tides older than memory. "No song can bind a god," she answered, her voice like waves brushing a forgotten shore. "But even gods may listen, and in listening, they may see what lies beyond their own reflection." Her words were neither challenge nor command, but a reminder that wisdom was not bound by power. Poseidon felt the weight of her meaning, and for the first time, he considered his storms anew. Were they his alone, or was he too an instrument of something greater, unseen and eternal? The queen moved closer, her steps as graceful as currents gliding through coral towers. "Your storms test men," she said, her tone soft but clear, "just as my songs reveal their hearts. They are not separate, Lord of the Seas. They are the same current, seen through different waters." Poseidon's eyes widened slightly, her words sparking a thought he had never dared to hold. His storms had always been trials of strength, yet perhaps they were mirrors, her songs. They did not only crush ships or scatter sails, they revealed courage, fear, and the truth within. And in that storm and song were not opposites, but companions, shaping destiny side by side. The queen extended her hand, not in demand, but in quiet offering, as calm as the tide. Poseidon hesitated, then set aside his trident, the glow fading as silence filled the chamber. When their hands met, The ocean itself seemed to shiver, as if acknowledging their bond. It was not the union of rivals, nor the triumph of one power over another. It was the harmony of storm and song, strength and truth, bound in the endless sea. The sirens lifted their voices higher, weaving a hymn that filled the waters with radiance. It echoed through coral halls, drifted past reefs, and spread across the waves above. Sailors far away paused, hearing faint music rise from the depths, hearts stirred without knowing why. Poseidon listened too, and within the song, he heard not just truth, but belonging. He, who ruled oceans vast and wild, had always thought himself apart from their song. Yet now he saw himself as part of it, another note in the eternal melody of the sea. The queen's gaze softened, her voice rising once more like dawn upon the waters. You are not only master of storms, Poseidon. You are part of the harmony you had forgotten. Her words rang clear, carried by the song, until even the deepest silence bowed before them. And Poseidon, god of the oceans, felt a tide within him turn, carrying him towards something new. Poseidon drifted among the currents, his mind turning over the truth he had just begun to grasp. The queen's voice had unsettled him, not with fear, but with a reminder of what he had long ignored. For centuries, his storms had spoken louder than any melody, yet never had they revealed their hidden song. He began to wonder if his rule had been whole, or only a fragment of the ocean's true design. The queen's presence was calm, but her gaze carried depth, as though she measured the silence itself. Her sirens watched, their soft voices still weaving tones that shimmered like sunlight through water. Poseidon broke the quiet, his voice heavy yet steady, carrying the weight of divine reflection. If storms and song are bound, then tell me, Queen, what role do I play in this harmony? The queen stepped closer, her movements like tides gliding against the shore of eternity. You are the trial, she said, her tone certain, the force that tests the strength of those who journey. And I am the mirror, she continued, her eyes never leaving his, the voice that reveals their truth. Together, we do not command mortals, we awaken them, pushing them to face who they truly are. Poseidon's trident glimmered faintly, as if even it recognized the truth carried in her words. The god had always believed himself the unchallenged master of seas, but now he felt something shift. Not a lessening of power, but an expansion, as though the sea itself grew larger before his eyes. The queen raised her hand, and the current stilled, the ocean pausing as though listening once more. You see the waves as strength, she said, her voice flowing like moonlight. But they are also guidance. Your storms drive men to their edge, but it is at that edge they discover who they are. Her words rang clear, carried by the silent chorus of the sirens surrounding them in reverence. Poseidon inhaled deeply, though the sea required no breath, as if drawing in her wisdom like air. He thought of sailors he had watched, clinging to their masts as waves towered like mountains. He had seen fear, but also courage, and now he understood that both were part of the truth. His storms did not only destroy, they revealed, they awakened, just as her songs did. The queen's eyes softened, a faint light within them, though she saw his realization unfold. You are no tyrant of waves, Poseidon, she said gently. You are their guardian, their guide. Her voice resonated, and for the first time in ages, Poseidon felt peace within his vast dominion. The sirens sang louder, their harmonies rising, carrying the weight of revelation through the waters. The song was no longer a mystery to him, but a current he could now understand and embrace. The ocean itself seemed to glow, coral shimmering brighter, fish gliding as though in celebration. Poseidon closed his eyes, letting the harmony surround him, filling him with both storm and song. For the first time, he did not feel alone in his rule, but part of a greater, eternal balance. The queen smiled faintly, her expression calm yet luminous, her voice a final note in the stillness. Storm and song together shape the sea, Poseidon, and so too they shape the hearts of all who sail it. Her words lingered, not as a command, but as truth carried by the tides, timeless and unbroken. And Poseidon, lord of the oceans, felt the vastness of his realm not as burden, but as harmony. Poseidon lingered near the coral throne, his thoughts drifting like currents lost between shore and deep. The queen's song still resonated, a melody that seemed to echo even in the silence of his mind. He had ruled through storms, yet now he understood there was more to the sea than force alone. For the first time, he felt the sea itself was guiding him, not merely obeying his trident's will. The queen studied him quietly, her gaze steady, as though weighing the change taking root in him. Her sirens gathered in gentle circles, their voices weaving low harmonies that shaped the waters around them. They sang not to command, but to soothe, their tones as soft as twilight upon resting waves. Poseidon turned to the queen, his voice carrying both strength and hesitation, rare in the god of seas. If storms reveal courage and songs unveil truth, then what becomes of mortals who cannot endure either? The queen's expression softened, her eyes filled with timeless patience, as though she had heard this before. Not all who sail are meant to endure, she answered, her voice flowing calm as moonlit currents. Some are broken by storms, some by song. Yet even in breaking, the sea leaves no soul untouched. Her words carried neither sorrow nor judgment, only the rhythm of acceptance, as natural as the tide. Poseidon considered her answer, remembering sailors lost to waves, their names carried only by the wind. Perhaps their journeys had not ended in silence, but in transformation, a return to the sea itself. The queen stepped closer, the water shifting like silk around her, her voice steady and unyielding. The sea is not only power, Poseidon. It is memory, reflection, and the place where all paths return. You test their strength, I reveal their truth, and together we shape what remains of their stories. Her words struck deep, like anchors cast into uncharted depths, pulling Poseidon into deeper reflection. He thought of his storms as trials, her songs as mirrors, and now the ocean itself as eternal keeper. The realization humbled him, a weight not of burden, but of belonging to something infinite. The sirens sang brighter, the melody growing until it filled every coral passage and shadowed reef. Mortals far above, sailing under starlit skies, felt the music stir their hearts without knowing why. Some grew brave, steering forward with new resolve, while others wept, confronting truths long hidden. Poseidon lifted his gaze, his eyes reflecting the glow of the queen's eternal song. "What then is my path, queen of voices?" he asked, his tone no longer commanding, but searching. The queen smiled faintly, her voice clear as glass and strong as the tide. "Your path is not to rule alone, but to walk beside truth, shaping storms with wisdom, not pride." Her words rolled through him, as steady as the eternal currents, unshaken by time or distance. Poseidon bowed his head slightly, a gesture rare for the god who bowed to none but fate. The queen inclined her head in return, acknowledging the harmony now forming between storm and song. Their powers did not diminish each other, but together expanded, like waves merging into the horizon. The ocean seemed brighter, the current stronger, as though rejoicing in the unity born within its depths. And Poseidon, lord of the seas, felt for the first time not ruler alone, but guardian among equals. The sea stretched wide beneath the moon, silver paths glittering across waves that whispered ancient secrets. Poseidon swam through the glowing waters, his mind carrying the queen's words like an anchor of truth. For ages, he had seen the ocean as force, storm, and strength. Yet now he felt its gentleness too. Every current, every ripple seemed alive, carrying voices of past sailors, sirens, and gods who once listened. He wondered if he had ever truly heard them, or only commanded, without pausing to understand. The queen's song lingered, not only in the depths, but in his heart, shaping how he saw the sea. As he rose closer to the surface, the world above came alive with faint lanterns from passing ships. He sensed the mortals on deck, their hearts uneasy, guided by stars, but still at mercy of the tides. One sailor looked down into the waves, his eyes wide, sensing the unseen presence below his fragile vessel. Poseidon watched him quietly, remembering her words. The sea shapes truth, even when mortals resist its call. The sailor's fear shifted as a breeze carried faint echoes of the queen's harmonies across the water. The man steadied, placed a hand upon the mast, and whispered a prayer, not of fear, but of trust. Poseidon smiled, for the sea had answered not with storms, but with song, and the mortal had listened. He drifted back down into the deep, where coral forests swayed like timeless guardians of memory. There he found the queen waiting, her presence calm, her eyes reflecting both stars and shadows together. "You see now," she said softly. "Truth does not need to be shouted. It only needs to be heard." Poseidon nodded, his trident dimmed of fire, yet glowing with quiet strength, tempered by wisdom. Then the sea must be both teacher and guide, not merely a judge of strength and courage. The queen's lips curved in a smile, her sirens circling as though weaving their songs around him. "You begin to understand," she said, "for the ocean holds all: wrath, calm, loss, hope, and endless rebirth." Her voice was like a lighthouse in the night, steady and clear, guiding without chains or demands. Poseidon felt his powers shift, not fading, but expanding, as though storms and songs now breathed as one. Together, they swam through vast trenches, where creatures of light drifted, shaping galaxies within the water. The queen sang low, her song blending with his heartbeat, and the ocean vibrated with unseen harmony. He realized then that their meeting was not chance, but a tide long destined to flow this way. For the sea had grown restless, longing for balance, and now it had found storm and song entwined. Poseidon turned once more to her, his eyes steady, his voice clear as the waves against stone. "If I am guardian, then let me guard not with storms alone, but with truth beside me." The queen bowed her head gently, as though sealing a vow older than the oldest reef. The sirens' voices rose higher, cascading across the sea until even the stars seemed to shimmer brighter. And Poseidon felt at last the full weight of the ocean, not as burden, but as belonging. For the first time in all his immortal rule, he was not only lord of seas, but part of them. The dawn rose above the horizon, painting the sea with gold and crimson as waves rolled in quiet rhythm. Poseidon stood upon a ridge of coral. Watching the light touch the endless expanse he called his domain. The queen of sirens drifted beside him, her songs silent. Yet her presence filled the water with calm. They had walked through storms, through silence, and now into a dawn that felt unlike any before it. For once, Poseidon did not think of power or dominion, but of harmony. a balance long forgotten. The sirens sang faintly, not to command, but to bless, weaving their voices with the breath of the sea. Above them, sailors steered their ships, unaware of the covenant forming deep beneath their wooden hulls. Some felt courage swell, others found tears they did not know they held, touched by whispers in the wind. The queen turned to Poseidon, her eyes carrying both mystery and certainty, like the tides themselves. You see now, Lord of Storms, the ocean is not only yours, it belongs to all who hear its call. Poseidon's gaze softened, his hand resting upon the trident, which gleamed with newfound gentleness. Then let it be so, he said. Let the sea be sanctuary, not only trial, for all who seek it. His words echoed across the currents, spreading like ripples, reaching reefs, trenches, and shores far away. The queen inclined her head, her sirens bowing their voices into a chorus bright as sunrise. The ocean responded, currents swirling with light, as though blessing the vow that now bound storm and song. In that moment, Poseidon felt no need for thunder, no hunger for dominion, only the weight of belonging. He was no longer ruler apart, but guardian among voices, a keeper of balance in an eternal tide. The queen lifted her hand, brushing the water, and schools of fish shimmered like scattered jewels. Together, she said softly, we carry not only power, but memory, truth, and renewal for all who sail. Poseidon nodded, his voice steady, carrying the calm strength of deep waters. And I will remember that storms do not only test, they also cleanse. They open paths for new journeys. The sirens sang louder, a hymn that reached the surface, where mortals paused in awe of unseen beauty. Children on distant shores laughed as waves carried the echo, unaware it was a god and queen who sang. The dawn rose higher, and with it, a sense of renewal that touched sky, sea, and soul alike. Poseidon looked once more to the queen, and for the first time in all ages, he smiled with peace. The sea, vast and eternal, was not his alone, nor hers, but a living harmony between storm and song. And so the tale of Poseidon and the Siren Queen became more than legend. It became the ocean's truth. For wherever waves crash, wherever songs rise, their bond endures, guiding both gods and mortals together. The sea carried their vow across time, an endless hymn flowing through every tide, every dawn, every soul. The sea lay calm beneath the setting sun, its waves glowing amber as twilight kissed the horizon. Poseidon drifted above the coral ridges, his eyes reflecting both storm and peace in equal measure. The queen of sirens lingered nearby, her voice soft, carrying no command, but only quiet harmony. Together, they watched the currents roll, carrying ships, creatures, and memories across the boundless waters. The ocean was alive with their vow, breathing balance into every tide that touched distant shores. No longer ruler in solitude, Poseidon now walked beside song, his storms tempered with wisdom. The queen, too, found her melody strengthened, no longer burdened with guiding alone. The sirens sang gently, weaving a hymn that stretched through the waters like a silver thread. Sailors above paused at the sound, their hearts stirred by something they could not explain. Some looked toward the horizon with courage, others bowed their heads in reverence to the sea. In their unknowing, they were part of the covenant, shaped by waves, tested by truth, blessed by harmony. Poseidon lifted his trident, not as a weapon, but as a beacon, glowing with new light. Let the sea endure, he said, not as mine alone, but as a home for all who listen. The queen's voice followed, carrying a blessing through the waters, soft as a mother's lullaby. And let every soul who sails find not only trial, but renewal within the ocean's embrace. The words intertwined, storm and song flowing together, creating an echo that reached the stars above. It was a hymn the world would not forget, carried in every tide and whispered in every shell. Children on distant beaches held seashells to their ears, hearing not only waves, but the vow of gods. Fishermen at dawn prayed with gratitude, their nets touched by the rhythm of the eternal hymn. Even the winds that crossed the seas seemed gentler, tempered by the covenant born in deep waters. Poseidon turned to the queen, his gaze steady, his voice quiet yet filled with eternity. You have shown me truth not through battle, but through harmony, and I will not forget. The queen smiled, her eyes shimmering like moonlight upon calm waters. And you have shown me strength, not as fury, but as guardianship, and the sea remembers. They stood together as the stars rose, their presence woven into the fabric of the night. Above them, the constellations shimmered, sailors charting their course by light and unseen promise. Below, the sea thrived, carrying both storm's might and song's truth in unbroken balance. And so, their story became not legend, but living rhythm, a heartbeat that pulsed through the ocean itself. Whenever waves rose high or melodies drifted soft upon the wind, mortals would feel their presence. For Poseidon and the Siren Queen were no longer rulers apart, but guardians united. Their covenant endured, as endless as the tides, as eternal as the stars above the sea.